What's going on? What's up? What's up? This is Sazo with the Conservative Cipher, and we're here today, once again reviewing and revisiting this topic of do African Americans have a culture, specifically. And we're here with the Ask a Brother podcast. I'm reacting to the video that Jeff just put out with the crew from the Daily Wrap Up. It's my first time actually seeing it, but I took a little glance, a little glimpse, played it for a few seconds, and I said instantly I would like to address some of these things because I think Jeff is kind of getting into some type of pseudo intellectual science. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it.
Had Mr. Frank Zanu on. For those who aren't familiar with this brother, this is a African gentleman. I forget exactly which African country he's from. But he's been one of the outspoken, sometimes thought provoking guy who's kind of broken out into the space. Sometimes, yeah, he says some things that are objectively legit, true. And then he says a lot of things that's often very disparaging of the foundational Black American community here and Black people abroad in general, it seems. And I wanted to get y'all feedback about him and people like him, because when I think about, there's like three different Africans, and I didn't come up with this originally.
Automatically, he's like setting the tone so people can have a preconceived notion of Frank specifically and what type of person he is compared to just actually speaking to him and listening to his argument.
Actually heard it from other Africans who were covering and talking about there's three types of African. The first type of African is one that has a European mind. Okay. They're African on the outside, but they're European internally. Their whole their whole
This is the part I seen earlier, and it was funny because I'm like, that's exactly what we are as African Americans. We are African on the inside, but our culture is completely American. And I think that's the distinction that Frank Zahn was trying to make, that African Americans don't have a culture. We have assimilated to somebody else's culture. That's the culture that we live in currently right now, which is an American culture. It's not the culture that we were brought here. That's not the culture that we had when we was brought here. We've removed the African traditional culture and we've embraced and assimilated into the English, Scottish, white American culture. That is the antithesis of, I guess, what he's trying to say. But the miscommunication on what I feel was that he said culture, and I think what would have been even more of a clear understanding is tribe. Because I think if you tell brothers and sisters in America here that you don't have tribes, what is a tribe? Right? You would have to ask yourself, oh, well, no, we don't have tribes here. In America, we don't have tribes. We don't have tribes. We have basically a culture that America lives by. You might have Southern culture, you might have, you know, Eastern culture, but really is American culture. It's the same culture as white people. That's what we have here. It's the same culture as white people who've been here since the beginning of America. Black people who've been here since the beginning of America, they share the same culture. There might be little differences as far as how you walk, the type of colloquial English that you speak, but there aren't any tribes in America. The closest things to tribes that America has is gangs. Or you can say Nation of Islam, They live a different culture outside of traditional American culture. You cannot say that all black people in America has the same culture. So we don't share a culture. I mean, you can't say that all black people in America share one culture, right? Just like a tribe would in Africa, the whole tribe shares the whole culture. You see what I'm saying? Now, Bloods and Crips, they have their same culture. If you're Blood, that's the kind of culture you live. You're Crip, that's the kind of culture you live. Your Nation of Islam, that's the kind of culture you live. God Body, those are different cultures. But it's not generally all African American. If as an African American who's not associated with any of those things, we will be typically in line with white people who have been in this country since the inception of America. But I'll let you carry on.
Mentality is that white and European anything is always superior.
That's that. You see, that is a self-esteem issue, and I mean we could get into that. He's not saying that white people are superior. Not saying that at all. That's what I mean by the pseudoscience. How could you get that from what he's saying? Or did he? Or maybe I missed something. That he said that white people are superior to black people, or their culture. They have different cultural differences that makes them better in certain categories. Because you can't just look at culture as who's on top and who's on bottom. There's different attributes spread out. It's on a spectrum. Some people might be better at building than other cultures. Some people might be better at mathematics than other culture. Some people might be better at agriculture than other culture. It's attributes. It's not just because you African and you have any type of comment on foundational Black American that you feel like you're inferior and the white man is superior. That's not true. It goes to show you that this is problematic. In my opinion, it's disingenuous. If you have the same culture as the white man and you're the black man in America, have the same culture, to both have the same things. We get married the same way. We celebrate the same holidays. We're mostly Christians or Jews or Muslims. We share the same holidays, the same religion as the white people. We go to the same schools. We get married the same way. In Africa or in places where there's plenty of different tribes, they have completely different customs. They do not get married the same way. They do not behave the same way. They don't celebrate the same holidays. Whether monotheistic, polytheistic, they don't have the same. And I would assume that you would know that. But let's go ahead.
To African and black peoples anything abroad.
That's
They're
pretty.
always, hey, and this is a lot. This is a black. You
Let me bring that back 2 seconds.
can see it in every population, every country. Their whole mentality is that white and European anything is always superior.
And this is the thing, right? Thomas Sowell breaks this down eloquently. He's saying that where African Americans got the urban ghetto culture that is so prevalent in our culture now is from white people. Eastern Europeans brought it in along with when slavery first started in America. It wasn't just slavery, it was indentured servitude, and a lot of indentured servants were white people. And they lived amongst the Africans. in the South. But we can get into that a little bit later.
To African and Black peoples anything abroad.
That's
They're
Caribbean.
always and it's a lot. This is a African on the outside, but they're European internally. Their whole mentality is that white and European anything is always superior.
I just can't get. I'm sorry. I continue to pause it, but I can't. I can't get it over. I can't get over it. How can you believe in white supremacy? How could you believe? How could you say there's white supremacy where Africans don't believe in white supremacy? They don't believe that the white people are supreme above them. So, bro, it sounds like you're projecting right now. Who really believes that the white man snow is colder? Who really believes that? If you believe in white supremacy, you believe that white people are above you.
To African and Black peoples anything abroad.
That's Caribbean.
And it's a lot. This is a Black. You can see it in every population, every country. There's Black individuals that seem to have a very European, Eurocentric mindset with everything, and that they see if it's from the white man, it's better. And the second type of African are Africans that tend to wish and attribute themselves with being a part of the Arab world, where they're constantly trying to call themselves Arab to kind of get away from the fact that at the end of the day, if they go anywhere around the world, people are going to still see them as African and Black.
And then I don't know if that's. I mean, you talk about the Somalians or the Dominican. I mean, those are people who are they're mixed. They don't operate by the one drop rule. So you can't tell a Dominican that he's Black when he's mixed. He's mixed with all different type of stuff. You know that. The South Africans, you can't say they call themselves colored people because they know they're biracial. The Somalians are mixed. They are mostly mixed with Northern East Africans. Black people usually really only come from one place. That's Sub-Saharan Africa. Black means the absence of all light. The triple stages of darkness. Be proud. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Everybody ain't Black. I'm sorry. That's what I don't know. I think that's the issue. Everybody believes that just because you have some melanin in your skin, everybody is Black. It doesn't work like that. Only in America that we operate off the one drop rule. A person can be light as Jason Kidd, and they say he's Black, but Jason Kidd, I'm not. That's the rules we operate on. But realistically, you telling me Jason Kidd and the person from South Sudan is the same? That's when you try to put Black people in a box and trying to put them in a monolith, and that's not true.
You'll hear this amongst Dominicans. I'm not Black, right? You're going to hear a lot of that too. So you got the European-minded Africans. You have the Arab ones, the ones that just only want to identify with the Arab world. And then the last one are Africans who I think have a very balanced perspective of themselves and other groups, including foundational Black Americans.
That's what
Frank Zanu.
It's like a supremacy complex. It's definitely self-esteem. Like, it's like you attacking the person rather than addressing the argument. The argument wasn't that. It wasn't an insult. It was just the truth stated by numerous African Americans that says that their culture was removed through slavery. Numerous. Thomas Sowell, W.E.B. Du Bois. They all said it. Like after beginning of slavery, the inception, 1600s, to when slavery was outlawed is 250 years. Generations. Right now, I'm a first generation African. I don't know my tribe. Think about it. My children won't know their tribe. I could find out if I do the research. But that's what he's saying. He's saying these people African people come from specific tribes that has specific cultures, traditions, taboos, female genital mutilation, uncircumcised. Those are things that, those are things that different tribes go about it in different ways. We don't have that here in America.
And a lot of black immigrants like him, I would sense and feel that they sound like that first African who tends to have a mindset where they have a very low view and value of culture, identity, accomplishments, and contributions that have come.
I think, and that's another thing. You have to really define the definition of culture, because as soon as you tell certain people what culture is, they start talking about music, food, and entertainment and inventions. No, that's not the concept of culture. Culture culture is. I'll bring it up right now. I was just watching it. I was just reading it earlier. Um, yeah, this is it right here, and this is by Thomas Sowell. It's called Rednecks, White Liberals. Black Rednecks and White Liberals is a collection of 6 essays by Thomas Sowell. The collection, published in 2005, explores the various aspects of race and culture, both in the United States and abroad. The first essay, the book's namesake, traces the origins of the ghetto African American culture to the culture of Scottish Irish Americans who migrated from the British Isles to the antebellum South. The second essay are Jews generic. But let's go into the first. The title essay states Sowell thesis about the origins of black ghetto culture. Sowell argues that the black ghetto culture originates in a dysfunctional white southern redneck culture, which was prominent in the antebellum South. The culture came in turn from the Cracker culture, or Welsh Highland Scots, Ulster Scots, and Border English, or North Britons, who immigrated from the more lawless border regions of Britain in the 18th century, the 1800s. That was around the time where slavery actually changed. I mean, excuse me, indentured servitude changed to slavery. All right. So that's a major part of the influence of the ghetto culture that we have today, that black people claim that it's their culture. No, it's not. It's not. All this hood ghetto culture that we champion, this backwoods culture, and there's specific distinctions in the culture that Thomas Sowell gets into, and it is actually very relevant. Is very relevant in what's going on in today's black culture. Kind of mirrors the same image that's what's going on in today's black culture. So for black people to claim that, you know ghetto culture is their culture, it's not true. It's actually an assimilation of another culture. But it's all right. You can walk, you can walk straight. But it's actually assimilation of another culture. A lot of things that that's what's going on now, and that's what the distinction is. Our culture was wiped away from us. Well, Africans that immigrated from, or who were enslaved in Africa and brought here, is completely different culture. Now, a lot of people say that before black people were already here before um the slaves were brought in. Fine, completely understand. And if that's your argument, cool. Then why do you speak the king's English? Why do you speak the king and the queen English? Why do you dress in suits? Why do you behave the way you behave? Why do we celebrate the traditions you do? Christmas, right? Why do we celebrate those things? Christian values. Why? If your culture and tradition wasn't that, you wouldn't be celebrating those things. I'm a Christian myself, but I know where our Lord and Savior came from. But anyway, that's besides the point. If you were here before slaves got here from Africa, and a lot of foundational Black Americans say that they're not Africans, they're not of African descent, they were here before. Why do you act like the white man? My question, serious question. But anyway, let's continue rolling. Okay, now you see this is the disingenuous pseudoscience, all right? That I mean by he's preaching, like, to say that, you know, civil rights wasn't, it means nothing to Africans, or I don't know, intellectual Africans, because everybody is on a spectrum. Whether you're imbecile, on the side of being an imbecile, or you're on the side of intellectual. People on the intellectual side, they understand, completely understand, the history of African Americans in America, because it's something that's worldly taught. It's not just confined to the borders of America. No, the history of African Americans in America, the history of slavery, chattel slavery, um, in Black America is taught worldwide. So for you to remain in your bubble and think that the intellectuals of Africa have no understanding of American slavery, once again, is intellectually lazy. Now, with that being said, Africans from the continent have an understanding of Black Americans, and not to come. Nobody came here just straight disrespecting, discouraging Americans. I've seen coming to America all my life, and I can remember how Akeem was treated when he came out JFK Airport in Queens. Or what's that, LaGuardia? And well, you came out of one of them. But I remember how African Americans treated foreigners, and it's due to indoctrination. That's a part of it, right? But to be disingenuous and say, okay, Black Africans are just ignorant and they don't know nothing about America, when all through the history of time, right? The African American come up has been broadcasted by one of the most powerful broadcasting places in the world, which was America. Everybody in the world first watched American TV. Only place that was really competing with American broadcasting was Europe, for the most part, because English was the primary language. English is one of the biggest languages around the world. So, quick history lesson: African Americans, the influence that African Americans had on the citizens and residents of this country, not only influenced this country, but it influenced around the world. Plenty of Africans looked up to African Americans. Plenty of West Indians looked up to African Americans. But once again, and this is in my personal opinion, the African Americans of today are a pale comparison of what it was in just a few days ago. I remember when brothers and sisters was diesel, strong Black people, because that was what you had to be. You had to be a Jim Brown. You had to be a Muhammad Ali. You had to be a Malcolm X. You see what I'm saying? Strong masculine energy was pervaded on TV in the world, and that's what the whole world seen. So everybody, I remember. You don't remember when Muhammad Ali came to Africa? And he had to fight George Foreman, Ali Boumaier. Wasn't that around the same time civil rights? Come on, man. Come on, man. You know, or you don't know. That's maybe the thing. Maybe you have no idea of the world's African American influence. So to look at African people and just say we look at African Americans as stupid. No, nobody's at this point. Nobody's ignorant. Today, what you have on TV is not respected. It's not respected. The African American image projected on the world today, on a world scale, is not respected how it used to be just a few years ago. We used to have the Cosby Show. Now we got baddies. Come on, man. So, to be honest, please be honest when you're speaking. But I'll digress. Go ahead. Oh, pardon me. Let me share. Sorry. Let me go back. Sorry about that.
Not the civil rights movement meant absolutely culture, identity, accomplishments, and contributions that have come
this is crazy
from our community. And they're coming and being the products of those contributions and attributing all those sacrifices and all of those changes and a lot of the perks that they've gotten. They're attributing that to the white people that they're working around and seeing. And not the civil rights movement meant absolutely nothing in their world. In their worldview, the civil rights was just something that came and went, and there was no residual issues. And with them coming here, maybe bypassing a lot of things that many of us may have experienced, their lenses, why are you whining and complaining? Everything's fine. You guys should be grateful. Y'all need to be grateful for the white man. That's how that's basically what it comes
off. That's exactly what it is.
There was a quote that Frank said.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was a quote that Frank said in the show when we were trying to explain to him about civil rights and how he benefited from that, or just how immigrants have benefited from that. And he said something of the likes of, like it wasn't just I begged the white man to come here and he gave me permission. Like basically that literally he said he begged the white man to come here. And that, that pretty much sums up everything that you were saying about the European mindset.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You said all right, let's say he said he begged the white man to come to America. Didn't you beg the white man for civil rights? Where's my camera? Did you not beg the white man for civil rights? Think about it. Think about it. Put it in perspective. And I'm not saying it to be offensive. I'm just saying it is what it is. Damn. If it wasn't for a civil war, because it wasn't no begging at that point, it was actual war. If it wasn't for civil war and Africans, right, fighting in a civil war, because there wasn't no black Americans during a civil war. They were all free men from the North that came down. They were not American citizens because the 14th Amendment didn't happen yet. So they wasn't American citizens. They were free men, residents, what you would actually identify as resident aliens, because they were all from elsewhere, but they wasn't citizens of America. They came and fought in the Civil War and died. The North versus the South. The Yanks versus the Confederates. They came and died and fought in the war. So when he says that he begged the white man to come in his country, technically he's right. If you don't have civil rights in this country, right? If you don't have civil rights, you feel like it was, and if you get into man, there was just a great debate between O'Shea, forgot his first name, O'Shea and Delano Squires on Jason Whitlock's channel, getting into how the civil rights movement was actually very destructive for Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement, how destructive it was for Black Americans at the time, and how it was the architect for the social justice movements we have now. That's very destructive to the community that we have today. So if you're waging everything on the civil rights is the reason why Africans came after slavery and had the opportunity to come into this country and participate in the opportunities. I don't know, bro. It's kind of that's kind of real far fetched, but anyway, go.
Is like they're so grateful of the white man. I don't know if it's because of, I think a lot of it has to do with religion, Christianity specifically. Because when you in the Bible, and I'm not the most religious person ever. But again, when you reference everybody in the Bible, including Jesus Christ, the most arguably the most famous person in the world, as a white figure, then anything that white men or white people do in general, you kind of forgive them because you associate pureness with white people or goodness with white people, and you automatically you go over the colonization that white people, Europeans have started, white people have started
currently doing
all of the countless wars, all of the raping and the unaliving of people. Like, you skip over all of that.
No. No. That hasn't been skipped over, and that's what I mean. Like, you think that just because they're African, they're ignorant. And just because they're African, they haven't felt the tyranny of empires before them. Because I think in America they make it more of a race thing. They make it more of a race thing. And now I'm starting to understand that in America it's more of a race thing versus power. It's always the white man versus the people who have the actual power. Because if you look into history, power wasn't just distributed because of your race. The strong rule the weak. Big tribes ate little tribes. Empires conquered lands. It's not just specifically because of race. But anyway, this video is reaching out a little too long. I would love to keep on addressing this topic. Maybe I'll do a part 2. And yeah, this is a great podcast. I love it. Love to contribute. And yeah, if you feeling me, if you understand what I'm saying, you want to respond, leave a comment. I'll definitely hit back. To drop a video, like, share, subscribe. My name is Sazo from the Conservative Cipher, and peace and blessings.